If you're not already familiar with AARP, we are the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to empowering older adults to choose how they live as they age and to age with confidence. With a nationwide presence, AARP strengthens communities and advocates for what matters most to the more than 100 million Americans 50 plus and their families, including health security, financial resilience, and social connection. All right, let's see who is in the chat today. I know that we have folks that are joining us from all over the Bay Area. Let's take a quick look. See who's in the chat. I think some folks are having some challenges joining. We have some folks here from California, Jacksonville, Florida. Welcome. We'll wait to hear from others of you as well. Thank you for being here today. So before we go right into our program, I'm curious to know how many of you have had some experience in a choir. So we're going to take a really quick poll here. Have you ever sung in a choir? Yes? No? But you always wanted to? It appears that we have a number of folks who have been singing in a choir. Great. Let's go ahead and share some results. Wow, 85% have sung in a choir at some point. Good to know. Thank you for participating in that poll. Well, it's my pleasure to introduce our guest interviewer today, David Louie. If you have lived in the Bay Area, you will most likely recognize David's face and voice from his 50 years of television journalism at KGO TV and ABC 7 News. He broke records for not just serving at the same station, but for serving for 50 years, and was also the first Chinese American regular reporter on television. It's been estimated that he has done over 10,000 stories. David recently retired from ABC 7, and we are so delighted to have David as an AARP volunteer with us. Glad to have you today, David.
Well, thank you very much, Sophie. I'm also a lifetime AARP member. So I'm very proud of what AARP does, and we're going to have a great program here today. You know, Sophie, I'm also glad that we have an opportunity today to put the spotlight on ways to enhance the lives of older adults and those who may have disabilities. Now, whether we're caregivers, friends, or relatives, or neighbors perhaps, who support others, or music lovers, there is such a need to address isolation and the lack of social interaction in everyday life. It's an issue that I've tried to cover as a reporter for many years. Now, that makes our gathering today so important, not just here in the Bay Area, but also across the country. Since 1921, Community Music Center is a nonprofit institution making high-quality music accessible to people of all ages, backgrounds, abilities, regardless of financial means. With a newly expanded campus in the Mission and in the Richmond neighborhoods of San Francisco, Community Music Center students come from every neighborhood. Now, the neighborhood choir program serves 15 distinct communities in San Francisco. Now, these are tuition-free choirs designed specifically for older adults who are age 60 and above, and or persons 18 years of age or older with a disability. Let's take a quick look at this video so we can set the scene for you.
Hey! Hey! Hi! Hi! Everyone stand on your feet.
Well, we're having a slight technical problem, but I think we're going to try to re-cue that video so we can see it from the very beginning. It's a very impactful video that really shows the scope of what the Community Music Center is doing in the communities of San Francisco. Shall we try it again, Sophie?
6 years ago, there was a beautiful project that started through the Community Music Center that involved creation of older choirs. Working with seniors has been one of the most amazing things I've ever done. You can only see the really immediate benefit of them learning how to sing, learning how to breathe better, learning how to socialize.
I used to be introverted, you know. Music helped to release a lot of emotions. My mother liked to sing all the time. Canción mixteca. Que lejos estoy del suelo donde he nacido. That is my mind for a long, long time ago. Para morir de sentimiento.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
Seniors put things in perspective for me. They find a community within the choir. They find a place to belong. They find a place where there's love.
So let's do it again from the beginning.
It's nice to get together with the group and sing. You already know that you're going to get along and there's so much you want to do together. Then you just combine it and there it is.
All the CMC older persons choirs are getting together for what we call a choir summit.
Coming together for the first time to sing together at the Herbst Theater.
Today, it's really just a celebration of what the Community Music Center has brought to the senior community of San Francisco.
It's gonna be great.
They're very excited to sing and share.
I am just so glad to be here. We're going to have a wonderful time.
There's actually studies that show that isolation has really negative physical effects on people, particularly on older adults. It's amazing, the transformative power of that.
Seniors tell me this is the reason why they get up. And for these seniors, if they no longer had that outlet, it would be a shame.
Never is too late.
Well, there you have it. What a great video to give us a sense of the spirit and the joy of participating in a neighborhood chorus. Now it's my pleasure to introduce some speakers from the Community Music Center's Neighborhood Choir Program. First up, we have Sylvia Sherman, who is Program Director, Community Music Center. Sylvia brings more than 25 years of experience with nonprofit and philanthropic organizations to Community Music Center. These include work with the San Francisco Art Commission, Oakland School for the Arts, La Peña Cultural Center, and various community-based and philanthropic groups doing programming, arts education, resource development, and strategic planning work. Sylvia is an alumna of community-based arts education programs, plays professionally with several music groups, and serves on the board of the Coalition of Agencies that Serve the Elderly, known as CASE, and the Yerba Buena Gardens. We also have with us Tim Costigan, Neighborhood Choir Coordinator, Community Music Center. Now, Tim comes to the Community Music Center from St. Anthony's Dining Room, which I know many of you know, where he had started a CMC older adult choir as part of the afternoon programs in the dining room there. As he's fond of telling people, the Tuesday afternoon St. Anthony's CMC choir sessions was his favorite part of the week. And now that he gets to do that every day all over the city. We also have with us Beth Wilmert, CMC faculty and neighborhood choir conductor. Now, Beth conducts 4 CMC neighborhood choirs, including one at Bernal Heights, OMI, Aquatic Park Senior Center, and Richmond Senior Center. She also directs CMC's Children's Chorus and Intergenerational Choir and works as a teaching artist in San Francisco schools. She is also an actress, a singer, and theater director. Beth includes her CMC students in her musical theater creative efforts. Currently, she is working with singers from 4 Community Music Center neighborhood choirs and from the CMC Children's Chorus to perform the songs of Malvina Reynolds, San Francisco-born environmental and human rights activist, singer, and songwriter who passed away at age 78 in 1978. They will be performing at the May 30th Yerba Buena Gardens Festival in San Francisco. Also joining us is Al Eng, Community Music Center neighborhood choir member. Now, 12 years ago, Al Eng retired as a clinical psychologist following a 36-year career in the field of community mental health. He has enjoyed his retirement pursuing lifelong interests such as music, cooking, and hiking in the outdoors. And together with his wife, he has enjoyed singing for the past 7 years in the Community Music Center's older adult choir program. So thank you to all 4 of you for joining us today. We're looking forward to hearing your comments and sharing all this excitement of what neighborhood choirs do and what benefit there is for everyone. So let's start with you, Sylvia. Could you briefly tell us all about the Community Music Center? How did it all start?
Wow, well, thank you, David. And how amazing to see that video. It actually brought tears to my eyes. That was such a special day for all of us. And I really want to thank Sophie and AARP for putting the spotlight on the choir program today. It's a really, really special program. So we're looking forward to talking about it. And it's an honor to be here with you, David. So thank you. Community Music Center, as you mentioned, is 103 years old. We were founded in 1921. And it's a place where you can explore music, whether it's the first time that you're touching an instrument, whether you want to pursue advanced musical studies, which some of our younger students go on to the conservatory or to advanced degrees, or increasingly a place where older people come back to music. Maybe they played music when they were in school or in college and then got busy with life, with family, career, and then come back to it to either take lessons again or to play music in one of our ensemble programs. So it's really a great place to either take private lessons on over 30 instruments, to take group classes so you can be with other people, studying an instrument or playing different styles of music. We have ensembles that do Latin music, that do classical music, jazz, Chinese, and other musical forms. One of the things we're very proud about is that Community Music Center throughout these 103 years has had a steadfast commitment to financial accessibility. And so that means that when you study at CMC, this tuition is sliding scale based on family income. And we have many tuition-free programs for youth, and also the neighborhood choir program that we're talking about today is completely tuition-free. So that comes to over $3 million in tuition assistance every year. And we're really proud of that and happy that so many people in our community can take advantage of what we offer and participate in the joy of music.
Sylvia, tell us a little bit about some research that you've had in partnership with UCSF, University of California, San Francisco. How do they help you refine your program and to enhance it?
Yeah, no, thanks for asking that. The choir program started back in 2011, a much more humble effort, but we started to to have a choir program at a partner site. We have always welcomed older adults at our two branches, one in the Mission, one in the Richmond. And because we know the importance of lifelong learning, have always offered a discount to seniors to participate. But we realized it would be really important to do programming at a senior site where people are, to eliminate the barrier of transportation, and chose our first site at Mission Neighborhood Center, which is just a few blocks away from CMC. And I'm telling a little bit of background because this is how UCSF found out about CMC to eventually do a 5-year study on what are the benefits of older adults who sing in a choir. But that very first choir was founded in some principles that have stayed with us throughout these past 13 years of doing choirs. And it was to make sure that what we're doing is in sync with the community. So that means in our community, a few blocks away from our Mission District branch, we were at a neighborhood center, the Mission Neighborhood Center, which serves primarily Latino families and older adults who speak Spanish. So we worked with Marta, who you saw in the video, a Mexican choir director, working with Jennifer, the accompanist, who started to do music from Mexico and from Latin America and led the sessions bilingually and celebrated cultural traditions that were very familiar to people. So that cultural responsiveness has become a hallmark of our program. The choirs also perform. So when that early first year, they performed at another senior center, the 30th Street Senior Center. That senior center went, wow, we want to do that. That's so cool. And they had a slightly different community, so the program changed a little bit to be with them. It caught the eye of Julene Johnson from UCSF, a researcher in the Department of the School of Nursing. And she really wanted to look at how can we get evidence-based research that documents what are the benefits for older adults who sing in a choir. And she, with UCSF, designed the study. That was a 5-year study that the Department of Disability and Aging Services was one of the main partners, and they became the portal through which 12 different senior centers participated to become the hosts of 12 new choirs that were created in the study. And CMC was the partner that was designing the music curriculum and providing the faculty. I think it was really beneficial because I would say the founding principles of those first 2 choirs were the basis of how we organized the choirs. But during the research process, they really wanted to look at what were the physical benefits, what were the cognitive benefits, what were the psychosocial benefits for people who sing in choirs. And we started to build in, kind of codify, how can you best provide those kind of stretches physically, cognitively, and provide specific opportunities for people to meet each other and connect socially. So I would say that we enhanced our rehearsal routines through that process. Beth can confirm that since she was part of that whole experiment. I will say after 5 years, happily, and 12 choirs later, the results were documented, and it was found that people who sing in a choir, older adults who sing in a choir, have increased engagement in life and decreased loneliness, which are 2 very important social determinants of health, as you mentioned earlier. There are studies, and I think this came out recently, right, that show that isolation and loneliness can be equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day and all of those impacts that can happen from that. So we are so proud that the Department of Disability and Aging Services continues to be a major partner with this program and supports the 15 choirs that we have today. That, indeed, it is really showing kind of a low cost and effective way to address social isolation through music and creative aging.
One thing I should ask you at this point is, give me a sense of the range demographically of age. How, what ages are members who join the choirs, and who benefits the most? Is there a target group that benefits more than others depending on their age?
Well, Tim and Beth could jump in on this, but we have the full range of older adults, I would say, from 60, which is our lower threshold, up through their 90s. And I don't think we've done micro studies to see if there's different, different benefits for people of different age groups. I don't know if Tim or Beth, you have thoughts about that.
Yeah, I think what I've observed anecdotally is that different age ranges have different reasons and benefits for being in it. I think the older, the folks who are into their 80s and 90s just really benefit from the community. They benefit from being in a place and participating, and just the socializing plus the singing. I think the younger, the folks in their 60s really enjoy that, as well as the opportunity to perform and to put things together in a way that, some of our older participants, some do. I would not eliminate them from that. Some do really love to perform, but some would rather just come to the practices every week and enjoy the community. But a lot of the other participants really enjoy getting out into the community and performing, and we really stress that. So we try to serve a variety of different things.
Beth, as a conductor of these choirs, give me a sense of how transformative is the experience? What changes have you seen in the choir members who come and join a choir?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward and palpable. We just, it's clear that everybody's having a good time. It's clear that, we leave dancing, we leave humming. And I'm just thinking a little bit about what Tim was saying about the older adults versus the less older adults. And I think about the older ones and having this regular appointment every week, and how meaningful that is for them to just get there, be with us, and just experience that once a week appointment that they prioritize. But singing is just so clearly infectious. It's physical. We're feeling the rhythm, the vibrations. It's palpable. And to the social aspects, I really see people exchanging phone numbers, making dates during the week. Over the summer, we don't offer programming, but everybody seems to gather at somebody's house to keep the party going. So all these things kind of tell me that it's meaningful for them, and they just want to keep it alive and keep it going.
Tim, I'm going to bounce back to you for a second. Tell me more about how you got involved in the choir program. It sort of harkens back to your involvement at St. Anthony's Dining Room, right?
Yeah. I had for many years worked in the Tenderloin First and Aid Services, and then eventually at St. Anthony's Dining Room. And eventually we decided that we wanted to sort of bolster our afternoon programs. We had a large lunch service, and then a big empty room that we had a few things going in. So we wanted to add some more programs. And I was aware of the Community Music Center's choir program, and contacted Sylvia, and she was delighted to hear about a chance to have a choir at St. Anthony's, and this was in 2019. And we got one going. It was a wonderful experience, and Beth was our conductor, and it was just a new choir. It kind of took a little while to get it going. Our goal at St. Anthony's for that choir and for most of the programs wasn't just to be for our guests who were perhaps living unhoused or in the SROs, but for the entire community. So it was open to anyone in the community, our guests, our volunteers, our staff, anybody. And we had members of all of those communities come in. We had some characters. It was we had a lot of fun, I think. Beth would agree. Unfortunately, it started in 2019, and then on March 10th, 2020, it had to shut down. But I stayed with St. Anthony's for a couple of more years and never forgot the choirs. And when I made the decision to leave St. Anthony's after we were able to reopen the dining room finally, I contacted Sylvia just to let her know that I was leaving, and she invited me in to join the choir program in general. So like I said in my little bio, I kind of went from one day a week where I really enjoyed what I was doing to every day. So that's how I got started. And I get to work with Beth more. I get to work with Sylvia. So it's been a real delight.
I'll get back to the issue of what happened during the pandemic a little bit later on. But Beth, let me turn back again to you. Since you conduct 4 different choirs in 4 different centers, how different or how similar are they? I mean, do they have different characteristics depending on location?
Yeah, it's just made up of each choir is made up of unique individuals that all have different stories, fears, dreams, expectations, songs, favorite songs. And so I actually try to remain flexible. So, yeah, every group does have its own kind of character, but I'm always there. Our accompanist Sharon Wayne's always there, and so they get a strong dose of my preferences in song and my personality. And I have kind of but I have an improvisatory kind of side to me, and I really like paying attention to the needs and interests of our groups. So yeah, I would say all 4 of them feel distinctly different.
Well, this is a perfect way to segue now to Al. I mean, you've been sitting here quietly listening to about the programs, but you're a participant and you joined the choirs, 7 years ago. How did you get involved? Well, how has it been life-changing for you?
Well, at the time, I had been singing in a weekly sing-along group at a local senior center run by the Rec and Parks Department. And the format of that was a very large group. There were probably 100 to 120 people who would show up each week and sit in a large room. And the program had binders with lyrics for 600 songs. And there was a director who put together a theme-based list of songs to sing each week. And there was an accompanist. And then we would go about singing. And each week it was a different set of songs. So I had done that for several years, and I felt the desire to join a group where we could learn songs and rehearse them enough so that we could enjoy sharing them with a group of people, like an audience. So in that sing-along group, there was a man who had been a participant in the original UCSF study. And we sat near each other, so we're chatty. And he told me about the OMI choir. And so he said, well, why don't you come and, sit in on it? It's really a chill place. So I went and I enjoyed the music. I enjoyed the group of people there. They were very friendly. There was a wide range of singers in terms of their singing abilities. And I felt very welcome, and so I was able to join in the singing, and at the end of that session, I was hooked. So that's what happened.
So tell me, I mean, is it infectious? I mean, does participating in a choir create buzz in your own circle of friends and acquaintances? Do they want to get involved? What about in your own household? I think you got your wife to join, right?
Well, I have there's an interesting little side story to this. My wife, we've been married 37 years, but during most of that time, music was something that I was interested in. She was interested in it, but not to the degree I was. So, and she was raised in a family where all of the members of the family were kind of taught or told, or they learned a script that they were non-singers. So she never sang. And so that wasn't an activity that we shared together. But then during the time that I was in this weekly sing-along group that I mentioned earlier, she joined in on that, and then discovered, oh, maybe I can sing. Maybe I can hold a tune and feel okay about it. So on the basis of that, I talked her into joining the Bernal Heights Choir, which had met at a time that was convenient for her. And then I wanted to be in that with her to help support her. And now we have that shared experience. It's been a real enhancement to our retirement life, where we have a lot of time to spend together.
Tim, you mentioned earlier about the pandemic and how that, that you imply that changed things a little bit. What happened during the pandemic? How did you have to suspend the program? Were you able to use technology in some way to keep everyone singing and together?
Well, I think actually Sylvia can speak better to that. She was there during that moment. I came on sort of in the latter part of the pandemic to help Sylvia bring the choirs back to in person. But in the case of St. Anthony's, the choir that I had brought on, we just didn't really have any option but to shut it down, and there wasn't a lot of digital capability among that group, so we just had to shut it down. But I think Sylvia can address the overall program.
Sure. I mean, it's such a delight. I'm so glad you asked Beth and Al about like this special nature of Beth's choirs because, and this is going to lead to the pandemic response. Each choir has its very individual personality. There's like an overall choir program. There's like even a manual that, has like a certain codified things that we want to make sure happen to make the session meaningful, but it's interpreted through the lens of the faculty member, the community member, the partner site, all of that influences. So Beth's choirs, they really respond to the beauty of who she is as a theater person, as an improvisatory person, and the diverse styles of music that she brings. But in the Western edition or the baby choirs, they're led by people from those communities. They're doing jazz and gospel music and participating in the rich cultural traditions of those neighborhoods, the festivals, the Black Cuisine Festival or the Jazz Festival, things like that. In the Mission District, the Latino cultural forms and language. And I say that because friendships form through the magic of the rehearsals. And I remember at the OMI, pre-pandemic, there was a snack in the middle, you would have a snack because that way people get to chat and get to know each other. They got so serious about snack, they created a cookbook, an OMI cookbook, and I think a choir newsletter at that time. But that's just like one example. Every community has a similar story about that. And what was kind of special about the summit, which you saw at the film at the beginning, is that all the choirs came together. And after that point, we only had 7 choirs at that point, but they started to get to know each other and then kind of float to new choirs as well. So we have people who go to more than one choir. During the pandemic, the strength of those relationships allowed people to transition to what would have been unthinkable, to go online for a community that was not online. And we started off, here we are in a Zoom meeting. The first thing we did, the very first weekend, between Monday of shutdown, before Friday of shutdown and Monday when the next choir was going to meet, we had a test on a Zoom meeting like this and saw immediately that we could not sing together. So we could not have the choirs continue on Zoom, but the faculty were very innovative. They created rehearsal recordings on YouTube from their own homes. They figured, we all had to figure out how to do it. We had like training sessions and, the whole peer-to-peer thing for the faculty, which was replicated by the peer-to-peer relationships of the choir members, of the faculty with the choir members, so that people would be able to learn how to access those YouTube links. After about 6 weeks of that, it was great to be able to sing with Beth or with Martha or Maestro or, Billy or whoever, was the choir leader at the time. Through a one-way kind of connection on YouTube, we realized, we really need to have an opportunity for people to be able to be with each other. So about 6 weeks in, we started to roll out the Zoom choir rehearsal, and everyone would just stay on mute. The choir director, and if the accompanist was with them, would sing and play, and everyone would sing in the comfort of their own living room and join in and have that connection of being with people. But equally important was the check-in time. So we would either open or in the middle of rehearsal have a, how's everyone doing today? How are things going? And everyone kind of got to share what was going on with them. And out of that, those friendships continued to serve each other. So I remember, I told this to Sophie earlier, but the very first session that I stepped in on that was transitioned to Zoom, one woman was talking about how she was having trouble getting groceries. She couldn't get out to do her own shopping. And another person said, I can help you, let's talk. I'll get your address and I can drop some groceries off. So that kind of connection that happened before, whether it was giving someone a ride to a rehearsal or collaborating on a cookbook, turned into how can we help each other meet our basic needs and check in with each other if someone's sick, and help each other with technology. So it was really amazing that not everyone transitioned to Zoom, but all of the choirs did transition to Zoom except for poor St. Anthony's, which, had additional challenges, and continued on through to today. And we have some new choirs since then too.
So the socialization aspect was extremely important, but there had to be a mental health benefit as well during this period of isolation.
Of course. I mean, being able to connect with people and to, laugh together and talk together was just that it was, the isolation was so much more extreme during shelter in place that the choirs became more important than ever. And so many choir members shared that with us. I mean, Beth, you probably have some stories, or Tim, about just what it meant to be able to stay connected with people, even if it was on Zoom, for what ended up being a couple of years. And I'll say that even today, I saw that there's a few, questions in the chat, and we will definitely address them. But one of them was, are there any online choirs? We continue to this day, a subset of our choirs, including Beth's choirs and Martha's choirs, are hybrid, so that those people who are not able still to come in person may participate online. So there is that opportunity with our hybrid choir format now.
That raises a good point, and which poses this question. Al, I'll turn to you. When the pandemic finally allowed people to start coming back together again, and you were able to do more in-person rehearsals, how difficult was it to overcome the reluctance initially to get to socialize again in person as opposed to being isolated?
Well, I think the predominant concern among all core members was how safe is it to resume normal social contact and interpersonal relating. And so I personally was someone who very much believed in the efficacy and the truthfulness of our public health officials' policies. So I personally and my wife were very willing to resume social contact when the public officials deemed it safe to do so. And also, we followed all of the regulations, the procedures that they set forth, which was, when we go back to live in-person rehearsals, we should wear masks and we should be distanced a certain apart from each other, and we followed that, and then we felt that if we did that, we would be okay. And so I think there were enough of us who did that when the transition was made to reopen the choir rehearsals to having people, physically together. That there were enough of us who were willing to do that at the beginning, that others who were more cautious could wait and see what happened to us. And I think they were reassured that, maybe it's okay. And then more and more people eventually joined. And I think once all of those kinds of social contact restrictions were lifted, there were still some people who continued to want to wear masks in the rehearsals. And I think a good response from the rest of us was that, that's cool, that's okay. We'll love you as a fellow choral member if you wore your mask. You sound okay, and I think having that kind of attitude is what helped the whole thing to go back to the way it is now. Mm-hmm. So, and I also wanted to add to what Sylvia was talking about earlier in terms of the benefits of doing the sessions through Zoom. There was conducting the choir practices during that phase of the pandemic where there was no allowed in-person contact. I think there was an unanticipated benefit that I observed among a number of choral members. And in particular, I'm thinking about two people in the choir who were in their 90s, and they had dropped out of the choir prior to the pandemic because they were physically unable to get themselves to these sessions and or unable to sit through a whole session, So, and then once the Zoom sessions were started, and this is during the time when there was no live contact, it turned out that lo and behold, these people appeared on the Zoom screen, and what a wonderful response I think was had on the part of both those in the choir and those who had dropped out and who were returning, because these two people, one was participating from her bedside with an oxygen tank, attached, and the other was a person who was more robust, but she sat on her sofa, and she was able to talk with us, and those months that these people showed up were very meaningful to all parties. So I'll never forget that. So.
And thinking too, we've kept the Zoom, but one thing we also did is we met outside when we were transitioning, and today was held outside still to this day. After 8 years of being held inside, has been outside since the pandemic. So I never thought, keeping that Zoom, because everybody's aging and we're keeping more members involved. So the pandemic kind of taught us that.
And also there are some people who are in the choirs, at least that I participate in, who have never returned to live sessions. So they started, in the live sessions, got onto the Zoom links, and now they continue to participate via Zoom, and presumably for health reasons or health risk reasons, and we all think very well of them, and they think well of us.
We interact. It is a great community. Oh, now you've obviously excited a lot of people in our audience today about the benefits of having a community choir. And I'm sure many of them are not living in San Francisco, so they don't have access to your program. So what advice do you have for others who would like to start community music programs in their cities?
Wow, what a great question. And it is really exciting to see that people are from all over the country. That's just fantastic. I think the most important, foundational aspect of it is to explore how a senior center or a neighborhood center where older adults gather and a music entity can partner to create a project together. That kind of brings together two important pieces of what will make a successful foundation for a choir program. And then if you're able to connect with your local Department of Aging Services, that's even better. We did create a manual, and I think we're going to be putting links at the end. So, with actually lots of great information about the San Francisco Neighborhood Choir Program, about an upcoming super special performance that Beth and Al are going to be part of, and other stuff that we will have. But also we'll put a link for this manual, which you can get a link by visiting the Community Music Center webpage, going to the Neighborhood Choir Program, and there is a manual, which is actually quite an extensive manual. So if there's any researchers in the audience, it actually details that the UCSF research process, in case you want to do a research study in another community. But then it also has details about what are the principles behind the choir program, what happens in a rehearsal session, even some sample repertoire, a job description if you're looking for a choir faculty member. So you're welcome to peruse that, or you're welcome to contact Tim or myself or Beth or Al if you'd like to learn more about how to do it. But that manual is a real contribution, I think, to the field in terms of how to run a creative aging program that will make an impact in your community.
Do you have any sense of how many community choir programs similar to yours do exist currently? Perhaps people have one in their community, they're just not aware of it.
That is such a good question. I don't really know the answer. We are part of the National Guild for Community Arts Education, and we've done presentations for that national organization of arts education providers. And there were not many. There were definitely people who were interested, but there were not many. But I think by looking up any community music center in anyone's local area, along with senior centers that are nearby, that's the best way to find out about activities.
Are you currently at capacity with your neighborhood centers? Can you invite more people to join the choirs?
I'm gonna let Tim take that one because I know he knows every one of our 15 choirs.
Yeah, Sophie very helpfully just put up the webpage for the choir program, and what that does is list each of the 15 choirs around the city. It tells you who is conducting them, what the language that they sing in, languages I should say that they sing in, and the type of music that they feature. And it's a good place to start. The other good place to start is to email me, and my email is on that webpage as well. But what I advise people when they do call or email me about it is that really show up at a choir. You're welcome to come and visit a choir. Just introduce yourself to the choir director as someone who's interested, and they'll always welcome you in. They'll give you the song sheet for that day, and you can sit down and just sort of see what the choir is about. Then if you decide it's something you want to continue with, the choir director or myself can get a registration form to you. It's free of charge. The Department of Disability and Aging Services is our primary supporter, and they've been very wonderful to us to make sure that it is free of charge for anyone in the San Francisco community who wants to join. So we do have choirs all over the city at senior and neighborhood centers. We launched a choir last year at the Open House LGBTQ plus senior center, which we were very happy to be able to sort of expand our definition of diversity in the choir program. And we hope to continue to do that down the road. But it really starts with that webpage, and contact me.
Beth and Al, perhaps you can join in on this question. What do you say to someone who says they're sitting on the fence? They sort of would love to join a choir, but they don't think they have a good enough voice, or they're not proficient enough at singing in a chorus. What do you say to them? Should they hesitate, or should they just take the plunge?
Never hesitate. Take the plunge. Yeah, I tell them that there's no skills required, no experience required, and we're here for the joy of music and connecting, and to sit in and try it, and don't be shy to come back. Try it a few times, especially my choirs, which are a little more eclectic with music and repertoire. I even will say, if the repertoire that we're doing right now isn't quite what you like, literally come back next month and we'll have another set of songs that might even be in a different genre. So yeah, no barriers to access this singing situation.
Yeah, I just think that, well, the objective here is to have fun. And it's not, although the choirs do have opportunities for performance. Performance is not mandatory. I mean, you could sit through a choir session, and if you don't perform at whatever performance is scheduled, that's fine. That's cool. But the main thing is to have fun, enjoy making music and how it feels in your body, how it sounds. Enjoy the wonderful music that's created when a group of people sing together, sometimes in parts, and have fun.
Well, there's no doubt that people would probably love to see and share in the excitement and joy of one of your choirs. And you've got a big performance coming up a week from Thursday at Yerba Buena Gardens Festival. So tell us about that performance. What are you going to be performing? Who's participating? What can people expect?
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. This has kind of been a pretty lifelong project. I've been obsessed with Melvina Reynolds for maybe like 30 years. When I first found her songbooks and started flipping through them, and when I started teaching children's choir about 23 years ago, I would pull out a song every once in a while, and they were quirky and very accessible to the kids. And then I learned a little bit more about Melvina Reynolds, and we're doing all Melvina Reynolds music, and she's a local folk singer from the 70s. I learned that most of her songwriting and performing started after the age of 50. And so when I turned 50, which was a few years ago, I thought now is the time to really pull out all these songs that I've been kind of sprinkling in over the last few years and maybe do a bigger project. And I realized that her children's music, she wrote for adults and children, and her children's music felt particularly powerful and kind of had took kids seriously, is what it felt like her. And then for the adults, I thought her adult music was very playful. So it just felt like the perfect composer for intergenerational singing. And since I've been doing children's choir for so many years, and I have these older adults, you know, I just really wanted to find material that can kind of close that gap and bring all my singers together. So for the first time, kind of like the summit that we had with all the choirs, I'm bringing all my choirs together. So the four, there's a green one and a pink one and a blue one and a yellow one. That's a reference to a Melvina Reynolds song, Little Boxes. I'm bringing the children's choir in, and we're going to put this thing together. Yerba Buena Gardens Festival, May 30th, 12:30 to 1:30. And I've done the arrangements. I have a wonderful accompanist, Sharon Wayne, and she's she's a multi-instrumentalist, and we're bringing in another accompanist who's actually from one of our other older adult choirs, Jennifer, and yeah, we're going to make an hour of music, all from one particular inspiring composer, older adult composer.
Now, is this an outdoor performance or in the theater?
It's outdoors.
It's free.
And it's free.
That's great. Absolutely. Well, you have excited so many people today learning about community choirs and the benefits, the joy, just the value of having a community choir in any community, whether it's San Francisco or other cities. But I think we've got a lot of questions coming in. And so I think we're going to turn now back to Sophie and see what questions came in. Our thanks very much to Tim and to Sylvia and to Al and to Beth. You've been wonderful to share your adventure and your journey with us, but let's turn things back over now to Sophie.
Thank you so much. We did have a question that has already been addressed about online singing programs and choirs. So let me move on to another question. Are people with dementia or special needs involved in the choir? Perhaps Beth could answer that question.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, older adults and adults with disabilities, and those are all ages. So, yeah, the answer is yes, and we're open to all. You know, we welcome anybody, and I've had you know, I've had a deaf person. I've had, you know, yeah, and we just we figure out how to make music together, no matter what your disability may be.
Beautiful. We had a question about, do you sing folk songs?
We do. We definitely do. I would say that's probably my focus, is folk based. I find it accessible, easy to harmonize, familiar. Yeah, it's a good place for me to start and build off of. So that's kind of my choirs are folky.
Yeah, I think all the choirs participate in various folk traditions. Certainly the mission choirs that sing in Spanish really dig deeply into the Spanish language, Central and South American folk traditions. And a lot of I noticed that a lot of these songs were songs that people sang when they were children, growing up, you know, in Mexico or Venezuela or wherever. But also, you know, depending on how you define folk, all of the choirs use that tradition in various ways to you know, I think it goes back to what I just said. It's like these are songs that people know, or you know, sort of kind of remember but want to relearn. That's a big part of what the program is about.
Thank you. We are almost out of time, and I wanted to make sure to thank you all. Thank you so much to our special guests, Al, Tim, Beth, and Sylvia, and to our special interviewer today, David Louie. If you would like to see this recording, it will be on the AARP California's YouTube channel. It will be up probably in a day or so. But I just want to thank you so much for sharing with us this beautiful program that you have, all the people that you are touching, whether they're singers or the audience, just so very special. And the sense of community is just so strong. David, thank you so much for being with us today. You've really helped us learn so much more about the program. And so thank you.
Well, thank you for having me, and congratulations to CMC and all that you do for the community. I think that you are a shining example of commitment and bringing music to so many people's lives. That's special.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Sophie. Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone, for being here. It's just a pleasure to talk with you all. And we welcome you to come by to the Yerba Buena Gardens Festival to see Beth's Malvina project, or on June 1st at Field Day, Beth's choirs will be performing, the Mission District choirs will be performing, the Filipino choirs will be performing at CMC, a special day of performance at CMC on June 1st. You're welcome to check out our website, but thank you so much for having us here today.
Thank you so much.